Hello, this is your special education virtual content specialist with the 7th grade lesson for April 20th. As with all lessons in Teach Hub, we provide the unit, the day, the title, the focus question, the standards, and the objectives. We also provide instructional and technology guidance for using this resource, implementation guidance for each slide in the lesson, guidance for summarizing, guidance for assessment during instruction, and general methods of engaging with students with disabilities and multilingual learners. 7th graders are going to be working on Unit 8, Probability and Sampling, Day 2, Chance Experiments, Part 1. How can we describe the likelihood of events happening? The introduction has students examine two events. Which one do you think is more likely to happen? Explain your reasoning in the chat. So, event 1 is when reaching into a dark closet and pulling out one shoe from a pile of 20 shoes, you will pull out a left shoe. The second situation is when listening to a playlist which has 5 songs on it in shuffle mode. The first song on the playlist plays first. It is more likely that you will pull out a left shoe. Then the first song on the playlist will be the first song played in shuffle mode. Since the shoes come in pairs, it is equally likely that you would get a left or right shoe. So half of the time we would expect to get a right shoe, and the other half we would expect to get the left shoe. For the playlist, there are 5 different songs that could play first, and only one of them is the first song on the list. A misconception that students may have regarding this launch is that they may think that it's required to pull out a specific left shoe rather than any old left shoe. And so just ask students to visualize the problem and determine how many right shoes and how many left shoes are in the closet. For the Explore, you're going to introduce students to the categories of likelihood. You have impossible, unlikely, equally likely as not, likely, and certain. To help students, you want to give them this example of a book opening to a random page. So for impossible, you would tell them, okay, it's impossible to open a 100-page book to negative 300. It's unlikely to open a 100-page book to exactly page 45. It's equally likely as not opening a 100-page book to a page numbered less than 51. It's likely to open a 100-page book to a page numbered greater than 10. And you are certain to open a 100-page book to a page numbered less than 1,000. So for the Explore, you're going to label each event with one of these options. And you can divide it up like I did into an I do, we do, and you do. For the first I do, you will win grand prize in a raffle if you purchase 2 out of the 100 tickets. That is unlikely. The second I do is you will wait less than 10 minutes before ordering at a fast food restaurant, and that is likely. For the first we do, you will get an even number when you roll a standard number cube. You want to tell students that a standard number cube is an object that has the numbers 1 through 6 printed on a cube so that each face shows a different number. This item will be referenced throughout the unit, and the chances of that happening are equally likely than not. For the second we do, a 4-year-old child is over 6 feet tall. And that is impossible, although you could accept unlikely as an answer. For the first you do, it will snow at our school on July 1st. That is impossible. The second you do, the sun will set before 11 p.m. today. That is certain. The last you do is a repetition of the first we do, so you might want to change that to an odd number. and that will also give you a equally likely as not response. For this portion of the Explore, you can also have students do it as you do. And in order to support students, you can pair them with their peer tutors to aid in comprehension and expression of understanding. And as students work with their partner to discuss this portion of the Explore, invite them to take turns and explaining to their partner which category they think it belongs to, and encourage students to challenge each other when they disagree. This will help students clarify their reasoning about the situations. So students are going to notice that green takes up half of the spinner, while yellow and blue each take up a fourth. What is the likelihood of spinning the spinner and resulting in green? It's going to be equally likely than not. Students should be able to express that this is the option because it takes up half of the spinner. And what is the likelihood of spinning the spinner on a yellow? And that should be unlikely, since it's only about a 1/4 chance of doing so. At this point of the Explore, this should be a discussion for students to see that the loose categories can be understood in a more formal way. So some students may begin to attach numbers to the likelihood of the events, and that's a good way to begin the transition to thinking about probability. There might be some discussion about the category equally likely as not. Are events in this category required to be at exactly 50, or would an event with 55% or 48% likelihood be placed in this category as well? At this stage, the categories are meant to be loose, so it's not necessary that everyone agrees on what goes in each category. You're going to ask them, were any of the scenarios listed difficult to categorize? Which categories are the most strict about what can go in them? So this should be certain, as it has to happen with 100% certainty. And impossible should represent scenarios that cannot happen, so 0% certainty. What does it mean for an event to be certain? That it has to happen. It's a must. It's mandatory. And what does it mean for an event to be likely? There's about between a 50 and 100% chance. To prepare for the summary, students are going to respond to the focus question, and you can support them with a sentence starter so that they can focus on the content of their response rather on the sentence structure. For additional practice, you can have students work on IXL, EdGEMS, Math Certain, Probable, Unlikely, Impossible, Engage New York Module 5, Lesson 1 Exit Ticket, or Khan Academy, Simple Probability. You can look at these resources that were used to design these lessons in order to support your students' digital learning. If you have any questions, please reach out to your virtual content specialist. Thank you.